Is the sun actually the villain of skin aging? Or have we been taught to fear the very thing that we were designed to thrive in? Welcome to another episode of Truth or Trend, where Dr. Verzal and I are going to tackle some of the things that we've been told without being challenged, and we're going to dissect them and see what's really true and what's not. We're going to take all things skin on today. We're going to talk about whether we should be wearing sunscreen or not, and if we are, what kind. We're going to talk about things like Botox. We're going to talk about the beef tallow thing. We're going to talk about how we can help build skin health from the inside out instead of always trying to attack it from the outside in. But Dr. V's done a bunch of research for us today, and he's going to start us off here with this wonderful article, so joyfully titled Vitamin D and Death by Sunshine.
That's my sunscreen. Is the sun deadly? Oh no. Truth or trend?
Right?
So
Let's
what I
hit it.
liked about this article, right? What I liked about this article is it does get into how the sun can be in a in this perspective detrimental. And really what happens is the reactive oxygen species, the sun quote damage happens if we don't metabolize that sun properly, just like practically everything else we talk about, right?
Yeah.
And so this talks, it lays out the way that it activates vitamin D as our best prevention, and it lays that whole pathway out on. Again, look at the first thing I always look at this, the active form is 125 hydroxy vitamin D3. That's the active form. So
Mhm.
hydroxy means hydroxylation. That's that first phase of detoxification, that P450, cytochrome P450 enzymes, that is a very easy thing to support. And so often, basically what we learned through this article is the fact that if that pathway is unsupported, then we're in trouble. And wouldn't you know, one of the ways to support that pathway is vitamin D. So there's God protecting us, right? We get the
Yeah.
sun, we make vitamin D in when the body's functioning, right? And that D prevents sun damage and therefore skin cancer. So, it lays out, as I highlighted here, sun causes damage to DNA by direct absorption and can cause skin cell death. There's the article's title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Production of reactive oxygen species, translate that to P450, that may interact with DNA to indirectly cause oxidative damage. So the benefit of the sun is vitamin D. So articles have been all over the place whether or not sunscreen can block vitamin D. I've seen a few that said that it does not. I think a lot of it has to do with the type of sunscreen. When
Yeah.
we think of or consider that one of the main nutrients to drive this P450 pathway is zinc. So does
Mm.
zinc oxide, does the type of sunscreen make a difference whether or not they can make vitamin D? Some of those sunscreens are have some big toxins in them.
Yeah. Well, let's
Like
let's let's pause for a second. You just said a bunch of big words, Dr. V. Hydroxylation, P450. Let's break it down and translate that to the average person listening, just so
yeah.
they can understand. But when you say P450, what are you talking about? What is that exactly?
So we have in a very general sense, we have two main pathways in the liver to detoxify. The first one is this hydroxylation, this cytochrome P450 that makes toxins water soluble. And so we need that pathway to then denature them, if you will, make them water soluble. Then they go into the phase two pathways, all seven phase two pathways. So far identified seven pathways.
Yeah.
And so when phase one over gets upregulated, then and phase two doesn't keep up, that's when we have more malignant type cancers.
Right.
So we need those pathways to work. They're fairly easy to support. Nutrients like zinc, um, zinc, iron, um, cadmium blocks it. Yeah,
Yeah.
antioxidants basically.
Yeah.
And SOD is and dysmuthyme are big drivers of that, which leads me to one of the ways I prevent sunburn
Yeah.
is overloading. I was telling you off camera that I was on a whitewater rafting trip one weekend many years ago, and thought I'd test this phenomenon. And so we went whitewater rafting for the weekend, and others out in the blazing sun all day for 2 days straight. And I used no sunscreen.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, I was whitewater rafting, so my dome, my that is not very protected by hair.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, truth being truthful, I did have that somewhat protected from the sun, but my body was in the sun, and I was taking mega doses of the product that is no longer available, but it was high dose, high levels of superoxide dismutase,
Nice.
SOD, and dismucine. And
Listen,
so those are major drivers. And what those do is absorb and this article actually talks about those actually absorbing the UVB rays and
right.
denaturing them, if you will.
So let's pause
So,
for a second. We're not telling people that the sun will not harm you if you get too much of it. Let's just say that very clearly, right? Too much of
okay.
anything. But what we're saying is that if the sun is harming you, that is information that you aren't supporting that second phase of the detox pathways. You don't have enough antioxidant support. Am I hearing you correctly in saying that? You don't have enough SOD available to you.
Yes. So
Getting to it.
we need to support the first phase one.
Right.
So antioxidants, right? And so if the sun creates problems, that it is another sign, like so many other things that we've talked about on this podcast, it is a sign that there's deficiency somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
Now I'm gonna yeah, exactly. So two things real quick for those who are listening to give them some options. You said there was a product, but do you just a little bit of trivia? Do you know which product from Standard Process has one of the highest levels of SOD in it?
Spleen, desiccated
Yay! Give the man
spleen.
a golden star. Yes. Desiccated spleen is one of my favorite ways to
Right.
do that. So
Yes.
if you're out in the sun and you're getting sunburn really easily or quickly, make that, like we said, take advantage of that information. And maybe you haven't been supporting your body's ability to make SOD, or you're not getting enough SOD to begin with. So
Right.
use that to moving forward for the rest of your life to be intentional about bringing more support to that and more antioxidant support. You told a story of
And
the product you took in the sun. I have a similar story when SP Red Food came out, which is that astaxanthin, it's this stressed algae and this mountain spinach. And I was taking that. I was out from sun up till sundown in a kayak on the water. And again, I didn't have any sun. There was no evidence, right, on my skin that it was burnt at all. Now, I have had a lot of pushback from people saying that. That's why I want to pause there. People saying, oh, you're saying dangerous things. You're telling people to go out in the sun without sunscreen and you're going to harm all these people. And we're not saying that, right? We're not saying
right,
go
right,
be wild and just, get out in the sun without it. But if you are burning, know that that is your body telling you you are missing things to keep you from being able to process that vitamin D and that UV radiation, right? Is that what
right.
you're saying, Dr. B?
Yes, and a big point of clarification here is the difference between superoxide dismutase and SOD and dismuzyme are they are free radical scavengers, right?
Yes.
Whereas a lot of these antioxidants prevent the free radical damage. So yes, there's benefits to that, but the difference is this massive dose, we're going to get theoretically some free radical damage from excessive sun like that. So this is going to help mop up the damage, if you will. Um,
Yes.
so so that's a kind of a key point of clarification there.
And I would also say, I think that there is a powerful correlation between people's lack of essential fatty acids in their diet in general and the protection of the skin. There was another time I went hiking, well exposed. I mean, we're talking many thousands of feet up in the mountains for hours, and I was taking Cataplex F and calcium lactate probably every 15 to 30 minutes as I was doing that hike. And again, after hours of hiking, high altitude exposure, I again did not have evidence that I was destroying my skin on that day, right?
So,
Again,
so thanks for transitioning, pivoting there. So, right, the AFAs, the F helps us make vitamin D, which God
right.
has designed as our best prevention. So there you go, huh? And
Yeah.
we talked a couple podcasts ago about the effect of like cadmium, right? Toxins,
Mhm.
pesticides, blocking vitamin D production. So there again, toxic metals are one of the more common triggers for cancers and things. So,
Yeah.
and this is yet another mechanism by which that happens,
Right.
right?
Right. Cadmium is the one that you really had a big aha moment with several years ago when it came to vitamin D being low in people in general, right?
Right.
Inhibiting that.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, I'm in Southern California. Nobody should be vitamin D deficient. Ultimately,
Right.
this is kind of how that whole thing happened for me. You know, I started practice before they were really testing vitamin D
Mm.
on people. So then when this became a pretty regular thing in labs, and praise God, labs and medical doctors are out testing for a vitamin now. I'm
Yeah.
celebrating that progress. But I was taught in undergrad that just showing the backs of your hands as you walk to the car would be enough to create all the vitamin D you would need. And
Mm.
this study that is on my screen, I think, talks about something crazy like 10,000 IUs that we generate from the sun, from just like, minimal exposure.
Mm.
So yeah, it shouldn't take much to produce the vitamin D that we need, with a little bit of sun exposure. But so then my brain says, well, why are people showing up vitamin D deficient if this is all it should take? And
Right.
so ultimately it became cadmium. As I muscle tested people out, I found that cadmium was that block.
Hmm.
Showed up with several people, went to the literature kind of like this, and there were several papers that demonstrated that mechanism as a known block. Cadmium's known to compromise bone health, right?
Yeah.
And so there's the mechanism there as well with D production and keeping the calcium in the bones.
Yes. And that gets us dangerously close to the most unpopular thing we ever talk about, and that is our exposure to cadmium through chocolate, right? People think the wrong kind of chocolate, right? So yes, we've shared this before, but what are other ways that people are getting exposed to cadmium? Is it just through air pollution? Is it through car exhaust? Or where do you find is one of the major ways that people are getting that exposure?
Yeah, it's mostly non-organic vegetables
Oh, okay.
ultimately, so the
Okay.
cadmium in the vegetables and in the pesticides that is sprayed, and so that's how it's ultimately ending up in chocolate as well, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say another reason that people and probably in Southern California or wherever they're getting enough sunlight, but they're not getting enough vitamin D, is to check and see if they're on a statin medication, right? Because the
Right.
cholesterol has to get into the skin to get in contact with the UV to make vitamin D. And if you're actively taking something to suppress your cholesterol production, then that might slow down your vitamin D production as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go, huh?
Right.
Uh,
And I say
so
vice
yeah,
with my
yeah.
tongue in my cheek. Okay.
Trying to be politically correct.
Right. Exactly. So what else
Not
you
getting
got
us shut
here?
down. I was just noticing that, vitamin D analogs have been reported to induce apoptosis. So that's how we get rid of the
Mm,
bad cells, right? In
mm-hmm.
several cancers. So they're even calling out, some of the cancers, the prostate, breast, colon cancers, certainly skin cancer should be in there. So we'll put a link to this article just because there's a lot of good information in here. But again, as if listeners look at this article, recognize that they are laying out the pathways, but they're not looking at the good news of how we support these pathways to not end up with this cancer and so on. We have to kind of put on our clinical hats and kind of work it up, um, by facilitating these pathways.
Mm.
So there we go. So is sunscreen a better answer? Is that where we're going to now pivot,
Yeah, let's
right?
pivot. Yeah, right into it. I like that. That's a good question because people, I mean, there are people completely unquestioning the fact that we should be putting slathering up head to toe with SPF 45 and above anytime we're anywhere out near the sun because the sun's trying to kill us. So what do you say about
Right. Yeah, and we've kind of already let the cat out of the bag. I don't think either one of us use sunscreen.
that? Nope. Not since I was a child. Yep.
Right, 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 right. So we look at keeping our diets healthy, keeping our good fats up, keeping our mineral status good, vitamin D, all the things that are going to help, antioxidants. Certainly, I mean, I'm using a lot of antioxidants simply to minimize damage, if you will, from exercise.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm out in the sun exercising. I'm creating free radicals by training hard. So good new and recipe red food is one of my faves for a lot of that these days because
Yeah.
it also has benefits for nitric oxide, which is again recovery, performance, so on. So endocrine signaling possibilities from pesticides you probably see on your screen, oxybenzone, octin, I can't even try to pronounce all these things. Octinoxate,
There you go. You got it.
osalate,
Mhm.
and octocrylene are some of the typical toxins in there. Anytime we see endocrine
These
bind
toxins are in what? Where are we finding these toxins?
sunscreen, sorry,
In sun.
these are
Yeah.
typical things and they call it organic, which makes no sense
Right. Yeah.
in this uh, article I looked up, mechanism concerns, weak binding estrogen, any binding to estrogen receptors, we don't need help there because we have so many other things in our environment that are going to
Yeah.
bind estrogen. We don't want to be, crying at chick flicks and growing man boobs or
No.
infertile and, ovarian cysts and things like that. Potential thyroid receptor interaction. So, I mean, there's some pretty big side effects, and then there's a lot of other, toxins that they put in sunscreen. In the early days, people didn't think that they absorbed through the skin, right? And so they thought, it's topical. That's not going to hurt my blood. It's not going to hurt my liver, that sort of stuff. Then progesterone creams got very popular, right? And that
Mm.
kind of changed the thought process on that. And gals were using progesterone creams and having, 10 or 100x what their progesterone levels should be. It's like, well, I guess this is absorbing, isn't it? That kind of fortunately opened the whole door to, now that's a pretty regular thing to using, estrogen creams and patches and things like that.
Yeah.
So at least we're aware that what we're putting onto our skin is being absorbed.
Sure.
So so using something that's lard based, right? Is a good potential option. That's good fats, right? That's also going to help us make vitamin D and help prevent skin cancer, I would think, as well.
Yes.
Did you had more you wanted to share on this?
Well, no, you're just talking about transdermal. I mean, that's what I mentioned before, that the reason that mineral wells became famous in the earlier part of the 20th century was because people would bathe in the waters, right? And they would get value transdermally. So we can bring in minerals through our skin. Obviously, it is a huge way that we're getting exposed to a lot of things. But there's a lot more evidence on that. And I was actually just thinking about how Dr. Artis is talking about these nicotine patches now, right? A lot of people think about that. That does also, of course, obviously transdermally get into the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think we can put
But
that piece to bed.
yeah, but a lot of those have toxic metals, unfortunately,
Yeah. Yes,
that
they
I've
do.
seen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a good point. Please say that again, right? So these nicotine patches often have
Right.
toxic metals. How's that happening? Do you have any idea?
Well, nicotine, right?
Right.
Nicotine often has toxic metals in it, cadmium and arsenic especially.
Mm.
And so most of the ones I've seen, even when they claim organic, they still seem to have toxic metal concerns.
Yeah.
So, look at niacin metabolism ultimately,
Mhm.
to try to get the benefits
Yeah.
that some of that creates. Uh, Lost my train of thought. So toxic metals,
Sorry.
so much to talk
Yeah,
about.
man, I'm
Oh,
knocking
magnesium.
you all around today, dude. Here we
It's all
go.
good. We were talking about soaking and the mineral wells, right? So
Yes.
soaking in magnesium. Ever heard of Epsom salt baths?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So
Yeah.
we're basically soaking in magnesium, and that is one of the best ways to get the red blood cells saturated with magnesium, or excuse me, hemoglobin saturated with magnesium is transdermal soaks. And so, I mean, one of the gals have wanted us to talk about, I was going to say botulism,
It is. I mean, right,
Botox.
Botox. So let's talk about that Botox a little bit because you said you see this a lot, obviously. So what happened?
I'm in Southern California. Yeah. So, but my alternative for that would be magnesium, right? Like we were talking
Mm,
about magnesium creams, because they tend to facilitate muscle contraction properly and soften. I've personal experience, I guess I would say, or what I've seen through patients and uh, aging people is using a magnesium lotion.
mm.
Actually seems to work, as we'll call that, our natural Botox alternative.
Yeah.
So again, Botox, consider the fact it is a neurotoxin. They're actually using a toxic virus to kill the nerves so that the muscle doesn't contract. That's the mechanism there that people are trying to do. During early days of COVID, I had a patient that had all kinds of Botox, and then she got COVID, and her face completely
Distorted.
got
Yeah.
disfigured.
Oh,
It was not, and it was a shame. She was trying to stay young and beautiful, and
yeah.
she completely got disfigured when she got COVID because the virus ramped up all that neurotoxin that she had in her system. I have other patients that still do Botox on almost a weekly basis, and
Yeah.
I have to treat them for all the nerve damage, the viral triggers, side effects that all that is.
Yeah.
So yeah. Not, I wouldn't consider that a great option. I call that
It's
it's a
not.
trend.
So for those who've done it, what's some of the things that they should consider doing going forward to help to mitigate the damages that has been done by injecting botulism into their face?
Right. So it is a virus, so vitamin A, good sources of vitamin A is a good way to correct that. Keep the immune system up. Again, this P450 pathway, zinc,
Mm.
calcium, zinc, iron. Copper drives it, antioxidants, free radical scavengers. We talked about SOD and dysmuzyme. All that stuff helps upregulate the P450 pathway that is being compromised by these. So, which again brings up the cancer concerns as well.
Right,
So,
right. Okay. So you're saying Botox bad is basically is a translation there.
sorry, ladies. Yes.
But we have options, right? So there's this whole beef
Yeah.
tallow thing that everybody's doing
Right.
now, right? They're, oh my God, I'm looking 20 years younger because I'm slathering beef tallow on my face every night. And my first thought, like you, it was like, we've had USF ointment for what, 30, 40 years.
Right.
Remember that we've been
Right. Right.
using for
Right.
that. And so, yeah, I can see some value in that. But now what you were saying is maybe a little magnesium topically as well would be a great balance to that, right? To really help.
Yes. Yeah. And actually, the most profound change I saw in my skin was when I started hydrating properly.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean,
Okay.
many years ago, I started trying to push to get closer to a gallon a day of water and adding minerals to that water.
Hmm.
And almost overnight, I saw a difference in my skin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was pretty wild. So hydrate, and get close to your, half your body weight in ounces as a starting point. If you're in the sun more, if it's winter, maybe a little on the left side. And the closer you get to that gallon, then you want to start adding, the minerals back in. Look at good electrolyte products.
Oh, I would say right from
Because
the
then,
beginning, right? I
yeah,
can't,
yeah,
if
yeah.
we're going to talk about drinking water, I have to stop and say it has to be mineral water. It has to be saturated with minerals. This
Okay.
weekend, we had our sleep retreat, and I talked to many practitioners that I have introduced crazy water to. And the
Hmm.
stories upon stories of successes with their patients just from changing their drinking water to a mineral water like that is
Hmm.
profound, right? Because that is a huge piece for it. So, yeah, for your skin as well. We're going
Right,
to
right.
drink that mineral water for sure.
There's good stuff. I think that's most of what I had on screen sharing. I can stop sharing.
Okay,
Put us
good. Yeah,
back
they want to see
here.
your beautiful face and your skin now. Look, no beef tallow. Actually, yes, I did years of beef tallow. Well, before it was a trend, right?
Right, huh?
So yeah. Well, and the beautiful thing about that USF ointment, it does have that. Now we're going to say it, that extract, the orchic extract that actually helps get that moisture in, where most things are not being even received, right? Those mineral oils and all those others, they don't have that piece. They can be more damaging too. So when we're putting things on our skin, we got to be very careful about what it is. It can create more problems, more oxidative stress, right? More issues because
For
of
sure.
yeah.
And I mean, as long as we're talking about, the estrogenic effects are potentially grave. Even using it everybody talks about bioidentical hormones, everybody's trying to, get around the cancer risk. It is still putting stress on those phase two pathways.
Yeah.
And the bigger problem is if those phase two pathways aren't working properly, then we have upside, grave potential problems. And I bring that up because a lot of the anti-aging creams and lotions have some estrogenic benefit, not benefits, excuse me, estrogenic aspects to them. So
Right.
ladies, you may not be aware that you're actually putting estrogen. You're doing, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, with a anti-aging, face lotion and things. So
Yeah.
be careful on that stuff.
And I think, yeah, for a long time, it was allowed to put a certain amount of hormones into all of these lotions because they didn't have to put it on the label even because it was under a certain percentage. So everybody was adding hormones into whatever lotions that they were.
Yeah. And the big surprise when I started when estrogeneration, when I was reading that book, he talked about lavender and pot are both high estrogenic aspects.
Really? See, I was
Yeah.
worried about that this weekend because they were really hitting the lavender hard. And I was like, hey guys, I'm good on lavender. You guys, yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's got
Right.
value, right? But a little too much is too much at some point. So that you
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
pot, like weed, like actual
Yeah.
marijuana.
THC.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, has estrogenic. That makes sense. I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
think of the behavior of a pothead, right? They're kind of
Yeah.
estrogenic like.
Yeah, yeah, they're definitely not high T, right? They're not Mr.
Right.
Testosterone usually. Which in
Yeah.
some guys' case, it's helpful to bring that balance, calm them down
Serious.
a little bit. That's interesting.
Yeah, good point. Right, right. So tallow's an option, right? We
Yeah.
take vitamin D. We're not opposed to taking vitamin D, but again, learn from why your vitamin D levels are low
Hmm.
because you're likely missing a nutrient or you have the toxins that are blocking the production of it.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of that happens. D is very energy and nutrient requiring to produce, to activate it to that 25 hydroxy. Um, but so we need to look at, and that's the fun process as a clinician, is
Yeah.
looking, at why that is low.
Yeah.
It's certainly an option to take vitamin D, but again, learn from why it's low.
Well,
Mm.
and here's the thing that I learned that was really cool is that sunlight gives you a form of vitamin D that actually can be somewhat water soluble. So you have a more ability for your body to have a balance with vitamin D when you're getting it from the sunlight, as opposed to just taking a straight vitamin D supplement, which is really cool, right? Because your body's
Mm.
trying to keep that balance going. And that's mind blowing. And it really, I do get concerned when these people are told to take 50,000 international units of vitamin D once a week. That's
Mhm.
that's wild, right? Like, how would that happen in nature? I just don't know. And that
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that throws things out of balance. So, I mean, yes, I think we really need to be. There's so many other things about the sun I could go on and on about, but
Mhm, mhm,
getting it
mhm,
from the sun is great. But the question is, if you are burning, use that information to learn that you've basically been missing things that your body needs for other things, right? To help
mhm,
with
mhm,
these
mhm.
pathways. So that's information. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be reckless here and telling people to run out and burn yourself in the sun. That's not at all what we're saying. Right?
Just trying to learn from
Right.
it.
Right. So if people are listening, they're probably wanting to know, okay, guys, get cut to the chase. Give us the protocol. What do we do to keep our skin young and beautiful and healthy for life without Botox, right? That's what they really
Right,
want to know. They're
right, right,
listening.
right.
So
It's an inside job, right? It starts from the
yeah.
inside out.
Well, I actually think a little bit of sunlight, as you're saying, is a part of that prescription, is a part of that
Mhm.
protocol.
Right.
Avoiding the sun at all costs is not going to help keep your skin young and
Mm-mm.
looking good, right?
Right, right, right.
Okay. So
Yeah,
let's break it down, right? What do they need? What do they need to build beautiful
yeah.
skin?
Good fats, good minerals,
Yeah.
like everything else, right?
Hmm.
Minerals are going to drive the pathways that they can help us make vitamin D when we do get the sun, which then helps protect us against the damage from the sun. We
Right.
need those good fats again to make vitamin D to keep the skin supple. We need magnesium. We talked about transdermal magnesium is a nice kind of way to handle that. It's calming.
Yeah.
Magnesium's, probably the most magnesium and zinc are the most deficient minerals in most humans,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
So it's a great one to utilize, whether you're soaking in it, whether you're using magnesium cream, taking, three forms of magnesium like Easy Mag.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that is beneficial. Magnesium's calming, so that's oftentimes why people want to take it at night or use it at night. Helps calm, relax the muscles,
Yeah.
helps the colon work better, so you can have that great morning movement.
Exactly. Yeah.
Incidentally, as you were talking about vitamin D, just to kind of backtrack a smidge, I find when people OD, taking that 10,000 IUs, it starts to then inhibit the thyroid. So
Do you find, wait a
clinicians,
minute,
as
let me just stop you. You said 10,000 IUs. You think 10,000 IUs is ODing for some people?
when the levels get to be over 100,000,
Oh,
I
okay.
mean over 100, sorry, over
Over 100.
100,
Yeah. Yeah.
then
Yeah.
I see that starting to inhibit the thyroid. So I mean, yeah,
That's
10,000 once or twice might be not be a big deal, but I had a patient that was taking 10,000 for 10 years by the time she got to me. And
wow.
her
Yeah.
D levels were 130. So we had to back her down, back off of the vitamin D for a while to get her levels back, her
And
thyroid back in order.
let me just add to that for everybody listening that when you do that with vitamin D, you are actually depleting vitamin A, what you were just talking about very powerfully, and you're depleting magnesium because it requires magnesium and vitamin A to do the conversions to get vitamin D to where you need to. So if you are hitting that 10,000 IU of vitamin D every day and you're not replacing the A and the magnesium and potassium, I'm going to say, then yeah, you're creating a disastrous state somewhere else unknowingly. when you do things like that. So I can totally see why that would have been a huge issue if it's not balanced. And everybody talks about K2, right? Well, we got to balance D3 with K2. Well, that means, yes, we want to make sure that we're getting the calcium that's pulled into the blood, into the bone. Sure, I get that. But let's remember the A and the magnesium and the potassium, right? That's huge when you're supplementing with D. You have to have those.
There you go.
Thank you for letting me jump in there on that.
No, we got all these sidebars as we're trying to wrap up.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Well, yeah, because then they're going to say, well, what about collagen? I'm drinking my collagen. I'm taking my collagen. You know, I talk about you need the amino acids to build collagen, but the one that I just want to throw out here real quick for you is sulfur, right? We forget about sulfur, and that's a huge piece of that collagen production, is having sulfur in the piece.
Sulfation, we've done it, right?
Yeah. So eat your radishes, right? Eat your foods that are sulfurous.
Right.
Okay, what do you you're trying to wrap it up, so tell me, how do we wrap it up? Put a bow on it.
I mean, this is a fun subject, and I know you're very hot on the vitamin D thing. We can go all day, but I'm trying to respect their time.
Yeah, and the sun's out, and I want to get outside and get in it for a little bit.
Right. For sure.
Okay,
so you can enjoy the sun without guilt. I guess there's part of our truth bomb, right?
Yeah.
If you burn easy, what nutrient are you deficient in? You know, are you missing some of the antioxidants, the free radical scavengers we talked about? Are you likely you're deficient in your good omegas? You know, do your omega index, check that out.
Yeah.
Figure out, you know, do you need more fish, more avocado, you know, more great quality olive oil? These things are going to help from a diet perspective to help protect the skin. Sun to the eyes helps set the circadian rhythm, on and on. I mean, there's so many values. The sun creates energy, right? Creates the food, you know.
All life on the planet. Let's not forget, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Is that it? Is that your last thoughts?
I guess, and Botox is bad.
Yeah. There it is. Okay.
Sun good, Botox bad.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Hopefully this answered the questions you all had about sunscreen, about your skin. If we didn't make it clear enough, please leave a comment below. We'll make sure that we give you a better answer. And if you have any thoughts or ideas of things that you want us to tackle next time, please, again, leave us a comment, share this with people so that we can make sure that other people are making sure that they're questioning things appropriately that have just been handed to them without question, that could be damaging their lives and making them not be able to enjoy something as beautiful as the sun, right? All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.